Captain Craig Halpert stood motionless on the bridge of the Nemesis, his golden armor reflecting the holographic displays that surrounded him. Through the viewport, the planet Novaris grew larger, its swirling atmosphere a mix of amber and cerulean. Stealth systems at full capacity, reported Lieutenant Tully Shasta, her fingers dancing over the neural interface. We're invisible to all known detection methods. Halpert nodded, his enhanced eyes picking up details of the planet's surface that no normal human could see from this distance. Any sign of orbital defenses? Negative, Captain Shasta replied. Novaris's space presence is minimal, mostly civilian traffic and a few outdated military satellites. A smile tugged at the corner of Halpert's mouth. Seems our reputation precedes us. They're not even trying to stop gods from descending from the heavens. The words triggered a cascade of memories. Halpert closed his eyes, letting his augmented mind sift through a century of recollections with perfect clarity. The lab was sterile, filled with equipment that looked more alien than human. Dr. Amelia Vance stood before them, her eyes gleaming with the fervor of scientific breakthrough. U-15, she said, her voice echoing in the cavernous room, will be the pinnacle of human evolution. The Perseus project will transform you into something beyond mere mortals. Halpert remembered the pain, the feeling of his body being unmade and remade. Nanites restructured his cellular matrix, reinforced his skeletal system with an adamantium alloy. Tailored viruses rewrote his DNA, optimizing every strand for peak performance. His brain buzzed as neural laces threaded through it, enhancing cognitive functions and granting direct neural interfaces with advanced technology. Artificial organs were grafted in, providing redundancy and capabilities that pushed the boundaries of biology. When it was over, Halpert looked at his hands. They appeared unchanged, yet he could feel the power thrumming beneath his skin. He was no longer just a soldier, he had become something more. Captain Shasta's voice snapped Halpert back to the present. We're approaching the upper atmosphere. Descent vector locked in. Halpert opened his eyes. Excellent. Notify the team. Full combat readiness. As Shasta relayed the orders, Halpert made his way to the armory. The other 14 members of his team were already there, each donning their distinctive golden armor. Looking shiny, cap-grinned Marcus Jax, the team's demolitions expert. His massive frame barely fit in the armory space, a side effect of his particular enhancements. We're not here to look pretty, Jax Halpert replied, though there was no real rebuke in his tone. We're here to make an impression. Remember, our appearance is a weapon just as much as any gun. He ran his hand over his helmet, feeling the nearly imperceptible seams where advanced technology meshed seamlessly with artistry. The golden surface was no mere decoration, it was a marvel of material science, capable of withstanding extreme temperatures and pressures while providing active camouflage when needed. As Halpert donned his armor, he felt the familiar connection as the suit's systems interfaced directly with his neural laces. Information flooded his consciousness: atmospheric composition, gravity readings, electromagnetic field strengths. His enhanced mind processed it all in microseconds. Check your loadouts, he ordered. Standard weaponry plus gravity manipulators. Shasta's latest intel suggests we might need the extra edge. The team moved with practiced efficiency, each member a perfect blend of human intuition and machine precision. A century of fighting together had honed them into something beyond a mere military unit. They were a force of nature, 15 individuals moving with a single purpose. Halpert did a final check of his own equipment. The plasma rifle at his hip hummed with barely contained energy. Micro-missiles nestled in his gauntlets, while a compact singularity generator for emergencies only sat securely at the small of his back. Approaching drop point, Shasta's voice came through the team's neural link. Atmospheric conditions nominal. No signs of aerial interceptors. Halpert stepped onto the drop platform, his team forming up around him with fluid grace. He allowed himself a moment to study their faces that hadn't aged in 100 years, yet carried the weight of countless battles. Remember, he said, his voice resonating through their linked minds, we're not just soldiers. To them, we're myths made real. Gods of war stepping out of legend. The floor beneath them irised open, revealing the churning clouds of Novaris below. But never forget, Halpert continued, his tone grave. With great power comes great responsibility. We're here to save this world, not conquer it. With that, he stepped off the platform, plummeting towards the planet below. His team followed without hesitation, 15 streaks of gold descending from the heavens. As the wind rushed past him, Halpert felt the familiar surge of adrenaline, his enhanced body thrilling at the challenge ahead. The impact crater from their landing was still smoking when Captain Craig Halpert and his team stepped onto Novarian soil. Their golden armor gleamed under the amber light of the planet's twin suns, a stark contrast to the dull, reddish earth beneath their feet. Atmosphere analysis complete. Lieutenant Shasta's voice resonated through their neural link. Oxygen levels 3% higher than Earth standard. Trace amounts of xenon and argon. Nothing our systems can't handle. Halpert nodded, his enhanced senses already cataloging every detail of their surroundings. The air carried a faint metallic tang, and in the distance he could make out the spires of a city despite the haze. Locals approaching warned Jax, his hand instinctively moving to his weapon. "Easy," Halpert cautioned. "We're here to talk first. Shasta, universal translators at the ready." A group of Novarians crested a nearby hill, their movements hesitant. They were roughly humanoid, but with elongated limbs and skin that shimmered with a faint bioluminescence. Their eyes, large and multifaceted, widened at the sight of the golden-armored figures. Halpert stepped forward, his posture carefully calculated to project strength without aggression. "I am Captain Craig Halpert," he announced, his words instantly translated into the musical tones of the Novarian language. "We come seeking audience with your leaders." The lead Novarian, adorned with intricate bioluminescent patterns that Halpert guessed denoted rank, stepped forward. "I am Zar Ikek, Chief Counselor of Novaris," it replied, voice trembling slightly. We have heard tales of your kind, the golden gods who reshaped the fates of worlds." Halpert allowed a small smile, visible through his transparent faceplate. "We are not gods, Counselor, merely humans who have been enhanced. We're here because we've received reports of unrest on your world. We wish to help." Zar Ik's multifaceted eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of agitation that Halpert's cultural database quickly interpreted. "You must understand," the counselor said, "Novaris has always been a peaceful world. This conflict, it is not of our making." Halpert exchanged a glance with Shasta, a microsecond of silent communication passing between them. "Perhaps we should discuss this somewhere more private," he suggested. As they followed Zar Ik towards the city, Halpert split his attention between their guide's nervous chatter and the data flowing through his neural interface. His team spread out in a practiced formation, each member scanning for potential threats. The city itself was a marvel of organic architecture, buildings seeming to grow from the ground like crystalline trees. Novarians stopped and stared as the procession passed, their bioluminescence flickering in patterns that Halpert's systems interpreted as a mix of awe and fear. Captain Jax's voice came through the neural link. "I'm picking up some unusual energy signatures, localized gravitational anomalies, not consistent with Novarian tech levels." Halpert frowned. "Log it and keep scanning." Shasta started deep analysis of local communication channels. "Something's not adding up here." They were led to a vast chamber in what appeared to be the central governing building. Halpert noted the positions of exits, the thickness of the walls, potential defensive positions, a century of combat experience converting every new environment into tactical data. As the Novarian Council assembled, Halpert stepped forward, his golden armor catching the light in a way that made him seem to glow. He could see the effect it had on the assembled aliens, their luminescence dimming in response. "Honorable Council," he began, his voice modulated to carry just the right mix of authority and reassurance. "We've traveled far to offer our assistance, but to do so, we need to understand the full situation. What can you tell us about the source of the unrest on Novaris?" The council members exchanged glances, their skin flickering in rapid communication. Finally, Zar Ik spoke. "It began 3 cycles ago. Disruptions in our power grid. Sabotage of food production facilities. At first, we thought it was internal strife, but you found evidence of outside interference," Halpert finished. "It wasn't a question." Zar Ik nodded, a curiously human gesture. We've intercepted communications, weapons that are beyond our technology. Whoever is behind this, they seek to destabilize our world. But for what purpose, we do not know. Halpert's mind raced, processing the information and comparing it against centuries of galactic political knowledge. We'll need access to your data networks, he said, and permission to move freely through your city. The council murmured among themselves, their bioluminescence creating a dazzling light show. Halpert waited patiently, knowing that sometimes the mere presence of his team was enough to sway decisions. Granted, Zarek finally said, "But please, we beg of you, our people are peaceful. Whatever must be done, we ask that you minimize harm." Halpert nodded solemnly. "You have my word, counselor. We'll solve this mystery and restore peace to Novaris. It's what we do." As they left the chamber, Halpert opened a secure channel to his team. "All right, people, we're splitting up. Shasta, take Jax and Miyazaki. Start with those energy anomalies. Rodriguez, you're with me. We're going to dig into the local networks. The rest of you, pair up and start canvassing the city. I want eyes and ears everywhere." He paused, looking out over the alien cityscape. Somewhere out there, hidden enemies were plotting to bring this world to its knees. They had no idea what was coming for them. "Remember," Halpert said, his voice carrying the weight of 100 years of battles, "we're not just fighters. We're the most dangerous humans in the galaxy." With that, the team dispersed into the streets of the alien city, golden armor glinting in the fading light of Novaris's twin suns. The hunt was on. Captain Craig Halpert's golden armor shimmered into near invisibility as he and Rodriguez approached the high-security government facility. Their active camouflage, a marvel of metamaterial engineering, bent light around them, rendering them practically invisible to both organic eyes and most scanning technologies. Security systems analyzed Rodriguez's voice whispered through their neural link. 3-layer quantum encryption on the main door. Graviton-based motion sensors in the corridors. Nothing we can't handle. Halpert nodded, his enhanced vision picking out the nearly invisible security measures. "Proceed with infiltration plan Gamma 3. I'll take point." With a thought, Halpert activated his gravity manipulator. The device, no larger than a coin and nestled in his armor's backplate, created a localized field that reduced his mass to near zero. He effortlessly scaled the smooth exterior of the building, his nano-grip gloves allowing him to adhere to the surface. Meanwhile, Rodriguez interfaced directly with the facility's security systems. His neural laces, far more advanced than any AI the Novarians possessed, made short work of the quantum encryption. "We're in," Captain Rodriguez reported, "looping security feeds now. We have a 15-minute window before the system realizes it's been compromised." Halpert slipped through an upper-level window that Rodriguez had remotely unlocked. His boots, designed to absorb and redistribute kinetic energy, allowed him to land silently despite the 30-story drop. "Rendezvous is at the central data hub," Halpert ordered. "Shasta, what's your status?" Lieutenant Shasta's voice came through clearly despite being on the other side of the city. "Energy anomaly source located, Captain. It's not what we expected. Sending data to your HUD now." Halpert's eyes widened as he processed the information Shasta was feeding him. "Gravitational singularities? That's well beyond Novarian tech level. Good work, Shasta. Keep digging." As Halpert made his way through the facility, he marveled at how easy it all seemed. A century ago, this kind of infiltration would have required a full team and weeks of planning. Now, it was just another Tuesday for the team. He reached the central data hub just as Rodriguez finished disabling the last of the internal security measures. The room was a marvel of biotechnology, with data conduits that looked more like bioluminescent veins than traditional wiring. "Interfacing now," Halpert said, extending a filament from his gauntlet into the nearest data port. His neural laces lit up as they began to process the flood of alien data. What he found made his enhanced blood run cold. "Rodriguez, are you seeing this?" "Affirmative, Captain. It's bigger than we thought." The data painted a picture of a conspiracy that went far beyond simple civil unrest. The Novarian government wasn't just being manipulated, it was being systematically dismantled and replaced. Arcturian Syndicate, Halpert growled, recognizing the telltale signs of the interstellar criminal organization. They're using Novaris as a testbed for some kind of new technology, something that can reshape gravity itself. Just then, an alarm blared not in the facility, but in Halpert's mind. "Proximity alert," he warned. "We've got company." The door to the data hub burst open, and a squad of what appeared to be Novarian security forces poured in. But Halpert's enhanced senses immediately noted the discrepancies. Their movements were too fluid, their weapons too advanced. Syndicate operatives, he communicated to Rodriguez. "Non-lethal takedowns only. We need prisoners for interrogation." What followed was a dance of superhuman speed and precision. Halpert moved like liquid gold, his armor a blur as he engaged multiple opponents simultaneously. His neural laces predicted enemy movements before they even began, allowing him to be 3 steps ahead at all times. Rodriguez was a whirlwind of calculated violence, each strike targeting nerve clusters and pressure points with surgical precision. Within seconds, half the squad was down, their weapons clattering uselessly to the floor. One operative, more skilled than the rest, managed to land a glancing blow on Halpert's armor with some kind of energy weapon. The captain felt the heat even through his advanced protection. These weren't standard weapons. "Enough games," Halpert growled. He activated his armor's sonic emitters, broadcasting a frequency that overloaded the sensitive hearing of the Novarian disguised operatives. They dropped, clutching their heads in agony. As quickly as it had begun, the fight was over. Halpert stood among the groaning, incapacitated enemies, not even breathing hard. "Area secured," he reported. "Rodriguez, start processing these prisoners. I want to know everything they know." As Rodriguez began his work, Halpert opened a channel to the rest of the team. "All units, be advised. We've uncovered a major Arcturian syndicate operation. They're using some kind of advanced gravitational technology to destabilize the entire planet." He paused, looking out the window at the unsuspecting Novarian city below. This just became a lot more complicated. Whatever the syndicate is planning, it's big enough to risk exposing themselves to us. And that means we're dealing with something that could threaten not just Novaris, but the entire sector. Halpert's mind was already racing, formulating strategies and contingencies. They had come to Novaris expecting a simple peacekeeping mission. Instead, they'd stumbled upon a conspiracy that could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. As he began to coordinate with his team for their next move, Halpert allowed himself a grim smile. It had been a while since they'd faced a challenge worthy of their abilities. The abandoned Novarian observatory hummed with activity as Captain Craig Halpert and his team of Supersoldiers gathered around a holographic display of the planet. The ancient telescope above them, long since replaced by more advanced technology, served as an ironic backdrop to the cutting-edge war council taking place below. "All right, people," Halpert began, his voice carrying the weight of 100 victorious campaigns. "We're dealing with a threat unlike anything we've faced in decades. The Arcturian Syndicate isn't just trying to destabilize Novaris, they're testing a weapon that could shift the balance of power in the entire sector." Lieutenant Shasta stepped forward, her golden armor gleaming as she manipulated the holographic display. "We've identified 3 primary targets," she said, highlighting locations on the planet's surface. "First, the gravitational singularity generator here, in the northern hemisphere. Second, their main command and control center, hidden beneath the capital city. And third, a spaceport they're using to bring in reinforcements and equipment." Jax, the team's demolitions expert, cracked his knuckles with a sound like grinding boulders. "So we blow 'em all to hell, right, Cap?" Halpert shook his head. "Not this time, Jax. The gravitational technology they're using is too unstable. One wrong move, and we could tear the planet apart." "Then what's the play?" Rodriguez asked, still cleaning syndicate blood off his gauntlets from their earlier skirmish. Halpert's eyes gleamed with a tactical brilliance honed over a century of warfare. "We're going to turn their own weapon against them. Shasta, pull up the schematics of that singularity generator." As the complex diagrams appeared in the air before them, Halpert began to outline his plan. It was audacious, borderline insane, and exactly the kind of strategy that had made their team legendary. "We'll split into 3 teams," he explained. "Alpha team, led by me, will assault the main generator. We're going to recalibrate it to create a localized gravity well that will immobilize the Syndicate's forces. He turned to Shasta. You'll lead Beta Team. Your target is their command center. I need you to hack their systems and feed them false information. Make them think their weapon is working exactly as planned. Shasta nodded, already running simulations in her cybernetically enhanced mind. Gamma Team, led by Rodriguez, will take the spaceport. Lock it down. No one gets on or off this planet until we give the all clear. As Halpert continued to detail the plan, his team listened with the focus and intensity that came from both their enhanced minds and their absolute trust in their leader. Now for equipment, Halpert said, gesturing to a rack of weapons that looked more like works of art than tools of war. We'll be using the XM720 plasma rifles. They pack enough punch to breach Syndicate defenses without risking planetary instability. He picked up a small spherical device. And these are our ace in the hole. Quantum entanglement disruptors. They'll scramble the Syndicate's communications and play havoc with their gravity tech. As the team began to gear up, Halpert felt a familiar surge of pre-battle energy coursing through his enhanced body. Every cell hummed with power, every sense sharpened to superhuman levels. One last thing he said, his voice cutting through the preparations. We're not just fighting for Novaris today. The technology the Syndicate is developing could destabilize the entire galaxy if it falls into the wrong hands. The fate of billions rests on this mission. He looked at each member of his team, these men and women who had fought beside him for over a century, who had become more than soldiers, more than family. But remember this, there's a reason they call us the most dangerous humans in the galaxy. It's not just our strength, or our speed, or our technology. It's our ability to do the impossible. To rewrite the rules of engagement, to snatch victory from the jaws of certain defeat. Halpert's words resonated through their neural links, each syllable carrying the weight of shared battles and hard-won triumphs. The Arcturian Syndicate thinks they've developed the ultimate weapon, but they've forgotten the most important rule of warfare in this galaxy. No weapon is more powerful, more unpredictable, more dangerous than humanity itself. He raised his fist, a gesture as old as warfare itself. Are you with me? The response was unanimous, a roar of affirmation that shook the ancient observatory to its foundations. As the team made their final preparations, Halpert allowed himself a moment of reflection. In all their years of combat, all the worlds they'd saved and tyrants they'd toppled, he'd never felt stakes quite this high. But as he looked at his team, Shasta running last-minute diagnostics on their neural networks, Jax lovingly calibrating his oversized plasma cannon, Rodriguez practicing zero-G maneuvers with his gravity manipulator, Halpert felt a surge of pride and confidence. They were gods of war in mortal form, and they were about to remind the galaxy why. Mount up, Halpert ordered, his voice carrying the promise of the storm to come. It's time to save a world. The night sky of Novaris erupted into chaos as Captain Craig Halpert led Alpha Team towards the gravitational singularity generator. Streaks of plasma fire lit up the darkness, the air itself seeming to warp and twist under the influence of conflicting gravitational fields. Approaching the target, Halpert's voice crackled through the team's neural link. Shasta, status on Beta Team. Lieutenant Shasta's reply came amid the sound of distant explosions. We're engaged with heavy resistance at the command center, Captain. Their defenses are impressive. Halpert allowed himself a grim smile. Roger that. Keep them busy. Rodriguez, how's Gamma Team holding up at the spaceport? Like shooting fish in a barrel, Cap Rodriguez replied, the distinctive whine of his plasma rifle audible in the background. No one's getting off this rock. As Alpha Team neared the generator complex, Halpert's enhanced senses picked up the telltale distortion of a cloaking field. Jax, we've got cloaked hostiles at 2 o'clock. Light 'em up. Jax grinned inside his helmet, hefting his oversized weapon. With pleasure, Cap, the air in front of them suddenly blazed with ionized particles, revealing a squad of Syndicate operatives in advanced stealth suits. Before they could react, Jax's plasma cannon roared to life, turning the entire area into a maelstrom of superheated matter. When the light faded, there was nothing left but scorched earth and melted equipment. Entryway cleared, Jax reported casually. Halpert nodded, already analyzing the generator's defenses through his helmet's heads-up display. All right, people, remember the plan. We're not here to destroy the generator, we're here to repurpose it. Precision is key. The team moved with fluid grace, their centuries of combat experience evident in every step. As they breached the outer defenses, Halpert found himself almost disappointed by the ease of it. Then the real resistance hit. A wave of gravitational distortion swept through the corridor, threatening to crush them against the walls. Lesser soldiers would have been pulped instantly, their bones shattered and organs liquefied. But they were made of sterner stuff. Halpert's armor automatically compensated, its inertial dampeners working overtime. He pushed forward, each step a battle against forces that could tear planets apart. "Shasta," he grunted through gritted teeth, "we could use a distraction right about now." Halfway across the planet, Shasta smiled as her fingers danced across a holographic interface, one distraction coming right up. Suddenly, the crushing gravitational force disappeared. Halpert and his team surged forward, taking advantage of the momentary reprieve. "What did you do?" Halpert asked as they fought their way deeper into the complex. Convinced their systems that the generator was about to go critical, Shasta replied, "They're too busy trying to prevent a meltdown to focus on us." Halpert allowed himself a chuckle. "Remind me to buy you a drink when this is over." The humor was short-lived as they entered the main generator chamber. The sight that greeted them was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. A miniature black hole hung suspended in a containment field, its event horizon a swirling maelstrom of bent light and warped space-time. "My God," Jax whispered, for once at a loss for words. Halpert shook off his own awe. There would be time for scientific wonder later. Defensive positions. I need 2 minutes to recalibrate this thing. As his team formed a perimeter, Halpert approached the control panel. His neural laces interfaced directly with the alien technology, his enhanced mind processing vast amounts of data in seconds. Just as he began the recalibration sequence, a new threat emerged. A squad of what could only be Syndicate Supersoldiers burst into the chamber, their armor a dark mirror of Halpert's own. "Well," Halpert muttered, "this just got interesting." What followed was a battle that defied the laws of physics. Gravity shifted and warped around them as both sides employed their advanced technology. Plasma bolts curved in impossible arcs, while combatants leapt and fell in ways that mocked normal ballistics. Halpert found himself locked in combat with the enemy leader, their enhanced reflexes turning the fight into a blur of motion too fast for normal eyes to follow. Each blow carried enough force to shatter concrete, their armor absorbing impacts that would have vaporized tanks. As they fought, Halpert's mind raced, calculating trajectories, analyzing weaknesses, formulating strategies. This was what he was made for, the pinnacle of human combat evolution. With a move that seemed to defy time itself, Halpert feinted left, then spun into a roundhouse kick that caught his opponent off guard. The Syndicate leader stumbled, just for a moment, but it was enough. Halpert's follow-up strike hit with the force of a meteor impact, sending the enemy supersoldier flying into the containment field of the black hole. There was a moment of horrible distortion as the soldier's body was stretched and twisted by the immense gravitational forces. Then, with a flash of light that seared even Halpert's enhanced retinas, the enemy was gone, consumed by the singularity. Silence fell over the chamber as the last of the Syndicate forces were neutralized. Halpert turned back to the control panel, his armor dented and scorched, but his focus unwavering. "Generator recalibrated," he announced after a tense minute of work. "Shasta Rodriguez, status report." "Command center secured," Shasta replied. "We've got control of their entire network." "Spaceport locked down tight," Rodriguez added. "We've captured a lot of interesting tech, Captain. RD's going to have a field day with this stuff." Halpert allowed himself a small smile of satisfaction. "Excellent work, all of you. Novaris is secure. Mission accomplished." As the adrenaline of battle faded, Halpert looked around the chamber, at the impossible technology they'd confronted and the team that had made victory possible. They had faced the most advanced weapon in the galaxy and emerged victorious. But as he stared into the swirling depths of the contained singularity, Halpert couldn't shake a nagging feeling. The Arcturian Syndicate was just the tip of the iceberg. Somewhere out there, more threats were brewing, more battles waiting to be fought. For the team, the war was never really over. And somehow Halpert wouldn't have it any other way. "All right, team," he said, his voice carrying the weight of 100 years of combat and the promise of 100 more to come. "Let's go explain to the Novarians how we just saved their world. Again." The Novarian sunset painted the sky in hues of amber and violet as Captain Craig Halpert stood before the assembled alien council. His golden armor, now bearing the scars of recent battle, gleamed in the fading light. "Honorable Councilors," Halpert began, his voice carrying easily through the vast chamber, "the threat to your world has been neutralized. The Arcturian Syndicate's operations have been dismantled, their technology confiscated, and their agents are in custody." Chief Counselor Zar Ek's bioluminescence flickered in patterns of relief and gratitude. "Captain Halpert, we cannot begin to express our thanks. You and your team have saved not just our world, but perhaps the entire sector from a terrible fate." Halpert nodded solemnly. "It's what we do, Counselor. But our work here isn't quite finished." He gestured, and Lieutenant Shasta stepped forward, presenting a data crystal to the Council. "This contains all the information we've gathered on the Syndicate's operations, including a list of compromised officials within your government." A ripple of shock passed through the assembled aliens. Zar Ek took the crystal with trembling appendages. We had no idea the corruption ran so deep." "It'll be a long road to fully secure your world," Halpert said, his tone softening slightly. "But we've given you the tools to do it. The rest is up to you." As the council murmured among themselves, Halpert turned to look out over the Novarian capital. From this vantage point, he could see the scars left by the recent battle, a collapsed spire here, a scorched plaza there. But already, he noted with satisfaction, reconstruction efforts were underway. Captain Zar Ek's voice pulled him from his thoughts. "There is the matter of payment. Your services, while invaluable, surely come at a price." Halpert turned back to the council, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Consider this one on the house, Counselor. But if you insist on compensation, there is one thing." Hours later, Halpert stood in a vast hangar, watching as Novarian engineers swarmed over the captured Syndicate vessels. Rodriguez approached, his armor clanking slightly as he walked. "Quite a haul, Cap," he said, gesturing at the alien ships. "The gravity drive alone is going to revolutionize our tech. Not to mention the weapons systems, the stealth technology." Halpert nodded. "It's amazing what you can get when you ask nicely, or save a planet from annihilation." They shared a chuckle, the sound echoing in the cavernous space. Then Rodriguez's tone turned serious. "You know, boss, I've been thinking. This Syndicate operation, it felt like a test run, like they were gearing up for something bigger." "I know," Halpert replied, his expression grim. "That's what worries me. Whatever they're planning, this was just the beginning." Their conversation was interrupted by Shasta's voice over the neural link. "Captain, we're picking up a distress signal, long range, coming from the Cygnus sector." Halpert's eyes narrowed. The Cygnus sector on the far edge of known space, a region rife with piracy and lawlessness. Perfect staging ground for whatever the Syndicate had planned next. "Prep the Nemesis for immediate departure," he ordered, "and tell the team to gear up. Looks like our vacation's been cut short." As they made their way to the ship, Halpert found himself reflecting on the centuries that had brought him to this point. The pain of the transformation process, the weight of near immortality, the countless battles fought across the stars. Sometimes, in rare moments of doubt, he wondered if it had all been worth it. But then he thought of worlds like Novaris, of people saved and tyrannies toppled. He thought of the team that had become his family, of the purpose that drove them forward through the long centuries. The Nemesis's engines roared to life as Halpert took his place on the bridge. Around him, his team moved with practiced efficiency, readying the ship for faster-than-light travel. "Course laid in for the Cygnus sector," Captain Shasta reported. "Estimated arrival time 72 hours. Halpert nodded, settling into his command chair. "Take us out, Lieutenant." Whatever's waiting for us out there, I have a feeling it's going to make our little scuffle on Novaris look like a bar fight. As the Nemesis lifted off, streaking towards the stars, Halpert felt the familiar thrill of anticipation. They were the living legends, the boogeyman that kept galactic tyrants up at night. And their work was far from over. "All right," Team Halpert said, his voice carrying the promise of adventures to come. "Let's go remind the galaxy why they call us dangerous." The Nemesis jumped to FTL, vanishing in a flash of light. And somewhere in the vast, dark reaches of space, new challenges awaited, challenges that would test even the gods of war themselves. But that, as they say, is a story for another day. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I hope you loved it. Please remember to subscribe if you did like it so you can see more videos like this. And please give us a like and a comment too. I'll see you in the next one.